This is Don Adams. Would you believe I'm back in my first movie? Would you believe me? Agent 86 is on the trail of a deadly ring of weirdos. Would you believe my agents and me are going to expose the enemy? Or is it vice versa? Well, believe me. See me, Don Adams, as Maxwell Smart. Sorry about that, Chief. In the nude bomb.
Rated PG. Now playing at a theater near you.
There we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Pod Stallions. I am Brian, and with me to my left is the host of Plastic Soul on YouTube and the regular second chair of this podcast, Mr. Jason Lindsay. Hey, Jason.
Oh, what a lovely introduction. Hello, everyone. Nice to be back. I appreciate you making me a hyphenate.
A hyphenate?
Yeah. I'm a hyphenate. I host, I produce, voice, write. You know, I'm a hyphenate. Like, you can put all those hyphens in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Toy mogul.
That's true, actually. You've made many an action figure, sir.
Oh, yes. You should see my Castle Grayskull-like mansion that I had designed.
That's made out of plastic and is actually quite terrible to live in.
Made out of polystyrene.
Yeah. Gets really hot in the summer and freezing in the winter.
Has to be covered during the rains.
Yeah, and the UV over the years has destroyed it pretty much.
Yeah, but it looks good from the outside.
Oh yeah. And
you drive down the street.
Yeah. Every morning when you fall off the ledge, I'm pretty sure you're like, it looks badass outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what keeps me going. Looking up from my fall, going, it still looks cool though. It still looks cool. So this is going to be a fun one. This is
I wasn't planning for fun at all.
Okay, well let's make it.
I would like this one to be a somber one.
Let's do only the somber, special.
Yes.
Very special episode versions of things like Blossom.
The ones where the night courts where they end with no music,
Yeah. MASH. But you threw this at me, I think, the other day, and
no, it was actually I threw the concept and then you threw it back to me, reinvented.
Ah, yes, that's what I'm a mixer that way. I'm an alchemist. I'm a podcast subject.
Shaman, dreamweaver.
Mm-hmm. Dreamweaver. Like Garth.
That's exactly where I was going with that.
So this is an idea that is more common than you'd think. I think most people think of these things and go, oh, I think I remember that. But as you sort of delve into it, there's a lot more of it. And this is shows, TV shows, dramas, sitcoms that have been made into big feature films or small feature films or that have been reinvented as features. Mm-hmm. Miami Vice is a great example. Even the original co-creator of Miami Vice, Michael Mann, did that well after the show. But we're thinking of more of the quirky. We embrace a lot of failure in this podcast. I believe we're big fans of things that don't quite work.
I love to be a passenger on a train wreck.
Yeah, there's something about it that I especially love it when all there's two types. I think sometimes all the ingredients are there to make it work, and you end up with and then sometimes it's a mess, and you end up with something fantastic. And I love the behind the scenes stories of all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But we also like things that, we're fans of cult stuff, for God's sake. I think most people, the 7 people that are listening, are fans of cult stuff too, and love these things that just.
I think just by the very definition of listening to us, they love cult stuff.
Right. Right. We're a cult. And,
yeah.
And things that only last 6 episodes or 10, or they made 7 and only aired 5 or whatever. And that's kind of where we're going with this. So Brian, if you'd like to get this started and tell me what your thoughts are right out the gate, let's do it.
I'm just trying to think of the first time I ever experienced a TV show as a movie. and it may have been the Munsters movie, Munsters Go Home.
Okay, that would make sense.
Yeah, I know we covered that recently, but I'm just trying to think. I think the one that broke my brain, however, was one of the On the Buses movies.
Right. That was during the lifetime of the show, or was it after?
Yeah, actually, they're Hammer Productions even.
Oh yeah.
The show was a staple of childhood for me.
Yeah, it was so weird because we have so many similarities.
Yeah.
Growing up, and I didn't see it On the Buses until I was an adult. I never saw it.
Well, On the Buses aired on Global when I was a kid, which was the same network I think that was airing as CTV when it first started. And it was on TV at 8:00 at night, so therefore it was our pop culture. And when the movies came on, I had a VCR. I think I was like 14 or so, and I couldn't believe there were movies. And I was even more shocked when I found out how much nudity there was. For some reason, Hammer. Well, actually, I'm not surprised that Hammer added a bunch of nudity, but they changed. This is an interesting thing to the film from the TV series. It didn't have the same continuity as the TV series. Stan's sister Olive had a kid, and that kid was not on the TV show, so it was just weird. They're making a movie of a television show that's beloved, and the TV show is currently running, and it's not the same. It's almost like the Doctor Who films that came out in the 60s. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I went at this the wrong way.
No. Because that works too. Like there's lots of stuff that. Okay, the first one that comes to mind to me is Batman, and I don't think I knew. Oh
yeah! My goodness!
I don't think I really knew, because I knew by the time you get to the '80s, the late '80s, when I'm really getting into collecting James Bond. Like it was, right after Living Daylights and before License to Kill, I joined the 007 American fan club and the British one, and had these UK collectors magazines that came out 3 times a year, that were I still have somewhere, that you could see pictures of things that you were never going to own. Toy Shop had loads of stuff, and I was really getting into it. And it was around that time, as I'm doing the deep dives, that I started to understand that there were several times throughout the 60s where a show like Man from U.N.C.L.E. would have 2 episodes maybe re-edited into a feature and released either I think in America, but I think the UK first.
No, there was mainly Europe. I think the main appeal was to do it in Europe.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think they did get released in America because they were done. But the idea behind those, from what I've read, is that most Europeans were still on black and white.
Right.
And by making these films in full color, and of course, when you're talking about places like Italy or Spain, being in the air conditioning for a couple of hours is a real draw to a movie house. And that's from what I understood. It was just because they were in color, and the movie houses were always looking for content.
Jumping on the spy craze, because the spy craze was huge at the time, and why not manage with theaters? And they did it with The Saint. I think they took 2 episodes of The Saint and released it as The Fiction Makers. It was a feature.
Did they not do that with Secret Agent Man? Wasn't Karoshi? I think the movie's called Karoshi.
Oh, that's ringing a bell. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is just Secret Agent Man, but in color.
So that idea, that premise, is what I thought for the longest time. That's what I thought the Batman movie was. Like I didn't.
Oh, I see. Until
I got to maybe the early '90s, that I realized it was a feature that was made during the lifetime of the show. So things like that.
Yeah, to cash in on the popularity of the series, and I'm grateful to that show because my parents only had like the most basic of cable when I was a kid, and I did not get the Adam West Show piped in daily on, Channel 29 when I was growing up. We didn't have it. And it was that movie. I think it went 78 or something like that. I remember the day it played on the ABC affiliate for the movie for the Sunday afternoon. That was an epic day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is we can do that as well in this this hodgepodge that we're doing. But I was thinking more in terms of something like, I guess MASH is a good example of a show that was a movie in '69 or whatever it was, and then it became a series a couple years later with a completely different cast.
Right.
That's kind of what I'm thinking more in terms of, like, that's an obvious one. But
yeah, well, that's a TV show. That's a TV show spun off of a movie, and we're doing movies spun off of TV shows, correct?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
So okay, yes. So I'm thinking more in terms of like Car 54, Where Are You? I guess.
Yeah. Now that got rebooted in the 90s, I think.
Right. Like,
because absolutely no one demanded it.
Right. That went the turnaround in 1963, I think, and they finally got around to making it in '94.
Well, and it was like, why? Recently, I was at a thrift store, and I saw it was the poster for the remake of The Honeymooners.
Yeah, with Cedric the Entertainer and...
Yeah, and it was autographed by a couple people on the cast.
Oh, wow.
And it was like...
How much?
It was $4 in Valley Village, and I just, I didn't know what to do with it, so I put it down.
It was not $4.
It was under 10.
I'm shocked you didn't get it, just for the comedy value, to have a signed Honeymooners the movie poster for $8.
Well, it was like a mini poster.
Oh, well, still a bargain.
Yeah. But like, does anyone remember that film at all? Like, I remember the only reason I even know it exists is I got stuck at a traffic light across from a movie theater, and I saw that poster, and I was like, "Oh my God, they're remaking The Honeymooners! Why didn't anyone want that?"
Well, and we're not going to go in, clearly not going in sequential order with any of this, because there's too much of it. It's a
so
mess.
Much
of it. Like, the first one that comes to mind, two of the ones that come to mind for me, and we'll get to them, are Casablanca and Animal House. Okay, we'll get to those in a minute.
Delta House.
I was thinking about Bewitched, and I mean, it's one of those things that you just go, what? Like, what is the thinking behind? I mean, it was a expensive movie. It was a disaster. And it was Nicole Kidman and Will Smith. Will Smith Ferrell. Will Smith Ferrell and whoever else. But you just kind of, like, when you see it, you go, like, the Addams Family made sense. The Addams Family was like, there's so many reasons that made sense to be a big budget feature thing. The darkness of it, the horror, the goofiness, the comic book, levels of silly. But Bewitched, you go, how many people are really, hankering for this? Like, but Bewitched is so beloved that it would, because it's not like something that was like a $5 million independent film, and somebody said, let's do a weird spin on Bewitched, and it's going to be called this, and it's kind of based on the show. It's like, there's a big budget thing. Like, why are we doing this? What's it about? Like the Stepford Wives too, the same thing. And they turned that into a comedy. I mean, that was I believe it was a TV movie, but just some of those things when you just see the poster or you see the trailer and go, who is asking for this? Like, who wants this, basically? Okay, so we're doing the reverse. Yeah. So we're doing something like Animal House to Delta House. So Animal House was 78, right?
No, we're doing the.
Sorry, I'm schizophrenic after.
Oh my goodness!
Before we hit record.
Yeah, no, we have been recording. No, we're doing the opposite. We're doing the Honeymooners reboot.
Oh yes, Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're doing
Yeah.
part two. So we're going to do part two of the ones that were movies that became right. Got it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So honeymooners, car.
Good night, everybody.
But Bewitched works. That works, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
that was a
That
real
made
head scratcher. I guess we should probably talk about, like, the 90s had a lot of these. And it seemed to be mostly sitcoms, for the most part anyways, that were turned into, to movies. And
give me one.
Okay, Brady Bunch.
Oh, now that's interesting because that worked.
It worked, but unfortunately it became like the blueprint for every single one of those movies.
Totally. No question.
And it that fish out of water shit, which worked really well for the Bradys. But
I have no connection to Brady Bunch. I've never liked it. I never watched it, really.
Me either.
There's no affection for it whatsoever. So when I saw that it was being made into a film, I'm like, what is the point of this? The conceit of it, though, it being probably the first to kind of do that, the conceit of this family is stuck in this, the vibe you see in the show is still happening.
They're weirdos.
Fish out of water. Was kind of genius. And
it just basically turned the Bradys into the Munsters, if you think about it.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very much so. Yeah. And it took the piss out of the, but everybody kind of did anyway, didn't they? Didn't everybody kind of make fun of the show prior to that, kind of? It wasn't like wasn't it kind of watched for camp value? Wasn't the kind of thing that?
There were Brady Bunch reenactment, which is probably where it came from. That like Brady Bunch live thing.
Oh yeah.
That used to go on. Yeah. In fact, I think one of the pioneers of that was what's his name? Andy from the Conan O'Brien show. He was like the original Broadway Mike Brady.
Andy Richter?
Andy Richter, yeah.
Oh, no kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, so and that worked, and it was a huge hit. And directed by Betty Thomas, which I think she directed some television prior, but did she do a movie?
Well, she was from Hill Street Blues.
But I don't know if she did a film before that. Wasn't that her first?
Betty Thomas, what year was that? Because
I want to say.
The Brady Bunch. No, she directed before, I think.
Did she direct the Howard Stern thing before
that?
Well,
no, I don't think so. But I think she had directed something before that. I can't remember.
Because that was a pretty hot streak for her, and I'm not a Howard Stern person, but I know that movie made a ton of money. Both of those, and she directed both those. So yeah, that's an example of something that actually worked. I just thought, who cares about this? And then it was a big hit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it basically opened the doors for a lot of properties that we probably didn't really care that much about.
I'm drawing a blank now on the 90s. So what else?
Well, Car 54, we've already kind of played that card. It was crazy. But then we also got like the Beverly Hillbillies movie.
Oh, God, I forgot all about that. But did Penelope Spheris direct that?
I actually don't know. I know Penelope Spheris directed Wayne's World. Which
she directed. No, she directed.
You're right. Penelope Spheris did direct that.
She directed Wayne's World.
Yeah, and Wayne's World 2. She directed the Beverly Hillbillies.
Did she direct what's the one with Batgirl? Was was a big thing for her. Became a TV series. Who was Batgirl in your favorite Batman movie with Clooney? Alicia Silverstone. What was the Alicia Silverstone movie?
Clueless.
Yeah. Did she direct that? Or was it Amy Heckerling maybe directed it? I forget.
I'm not prepared for this conversation.
Let's go second though to Car 54. That was David Johansen, better known to music fans as Buster Poindexter, but really David Johansen prior to Buster Poindexter of the New York Dolls. But who was the other guy?
It was John McGinley.
Oh, John McGinley. God bless him.
Yeah.
The guy that you hated in Platoon, that you just bugged the shit out of you in Platoon, has had this incredible career, and he's done so many smart moves with it, with his physical appearance and his personality, and he's as good in drama as he is in comedy, but he's got a face made for comedy. But I never saw Car 54. I saw the trailer, but I never saw the movie.
It was hard to see that movie.
It may be a masterpiece. We don't, it could be. Maybe it's a hidden gem that I'm still waiting to hear about.
I seem to remember that was like a February, let's dump this movie out. I've not heard good things.
Okay. Give me another 90s. Okay, so but the Brady Bunch and what was the other one you just said?
Beverly Hillbillies.
Did that do well when it came out?
Well, there wasn't a sequel to my knowledge, so I would say probably not. But I do that was the movie where I remember thinking like, okay, there seems to be a pattern with these where it's the fish out of waters and they're getting scammed.
Mm-hmm.
And they're usually getting scammed by somebody who used to be on Saturday Night Live.
Mm.
And that was one of the things about that. And I think Rob Schneider is the bad guy in that one.
And who was the banker guy?
Drysdale was played by Dabney Coleman, which was actually pretty good.
Yeah. The tale of Dabney Coleman taking those kinds of parts. Like, they just got in under the wire of like, does the guy from 9 to 5 still work as this kind of, it's what year is it? 94, whatever, 90. Yeah. It'll work. Like,
and Lily Tomlin playing Miss Hathaway is kind of clever.
That's pretty inspired.
Yeah. That actually, for me, I thought, like, I saw that in the theater. Forgive me.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah. Sure did. And I didn't hate it. I have not rewatched it because there was no need to.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't hate it. I liked the cast. And,
so it kind of worked.
It worked, but you were like, yeah, we don't need another one of these. Like, it's not a franchise.
Here's what's sick about this. I've never seen it, but if I'm your phone a friend, I'm gonna say Cloris Leachman played Grandma. Dietrich Bader played Jethro. Jim Varney was Grandpa, or the Buddy Ebsen character, Grandpa, whatever. And Daisy, what's her name? Not Daisy. What's her name in the show?
Ellie Mae.
Ellie Mae. I'm drawing a blank, but it might be the woman that came up out of the cake in.
Damn, 100%. You hit every target, sir.
Is it the woman that came up out of the cake?
Erica Aleniak from Under Siege. Yes.
There is no reason whatsoever for me to know any of that.
Nope. And you know what the sad part is? I could have done the exact same.
What is wrong with us?
I don't know. I really struggle to remember certain things. But yeah, you and I both have that cast of the 1993 remake of the Beverly Hillbillies down pat.
My category tonight is the movie remake of the Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah, if we're ever on Jeopardy and there's like useless crap section.
Yeah.
Oh man, we're winning that night. We are Ken Jennings.
I'd be hitting that buzzer like mad.
And here's another 90s nobody wanted from 93 TV remake. Coneheads.
Oh, that is such a weird one for so many reasons of like, what year was it again? Like, it was 92, 93?
93 is when it came out, and it's like, yeah, because we were all pining for that. Like,
it got an action figure line.
It did, by Playmates.
I mean, I like, first of all, it's already, who's talking about the Coneheads in 92? The last time the
studio executives, sir.
the last sketch was probably like 1979.
Yeah, and like Saturday Night Live had completely redeemed itself at that point too, from being just about the Belushi era. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
you're right.
So it was like this weird out of nowhere. Like, I understood that Wayne's World, as much as it's kind of, it hasn't aged super great. It was the now. And then their follow-up was like, and here's this thing that you were 7 when it came out.
Well, it's the only thing I can surmise is, Lorne Michaels, because, all that stuff is, however it's divided up between NBC and him or whatever is his property. So everybody, anything that came off the show, it's got his stamp on it. He's executive producer on. So I think Wayne's World worked.
Yeah.
There a second one by then? Was there 2 Wayne's Worlds?
There was a Wayne's World 2 in 93. Yeah. So Coneheads and Wayne's World 2 came out around the same time.
Belushi's dead, and we can't do a samurai thing anyway, because that's not exactly work these days. Let's go for Coneheads. But that is a weird concoction. Like,
I recently rewatched it. About a year ago, I rewatched it, and you have this incredible talent pool that is completely wasted.
Michael McKean, Michael Richards is in it, I think.
Michael Richards was so embarrassed by his performance that if people came up to him at that summer, he would give them their money back.
Oh wow.
Because you look at it and you go, you had Kramer, like the star of, for a cameo, and he does nothing.
And is Buck Henry in it? Buck Henry's not in it, is he?
I don't remember.
Because if there's a Buck Henry action figure that exists, I need to have.
Well, that would have been from the Man Who Fell to Earth line.
Right. Exactly. Aborted Man Who Fell to Earth line.
Were they thinking at Mattel?
But this thing got action figures, and they were great. Like, they were really great action figures. I didn't buy them, but like, who at Playmates is thinking this is a home run?
You know what is also really funny about that movie? It's almost like Sweet and Innocent now, is the product placement, because like I think Subway just paid for the entire movie, and like they are in so many scenes.
And it was a summer movie, I think, wasn't it?
It was a summer. This one I really remember because this was like the last summer I lived with my parents, and it was a fun summer, but it's one that really sticks in my mind, and it was the big can miss movie of the summer for me.
Right. And it was like they had a pretty big. Well, it also had. I think it had Chris Farley in it too, and so they're riding that wave too.
Yeah, they were, and Chris Farley probably sold a lot of tickets.
Yeah,
even though he's not terribly funny in this either. It's not a funny movie.
And did Aykroyd co-write it?
He probably did. Yeah.
Oh, man, that's a great one, because what the. I mean, I remember seeing that trailer or the poster and just going, "What?
Yeah.
Why?"
I think the action figures just sat. In my town until they were down to like $2 and they got clearance. But
you just try and get a complete set of Playmates Conehead action figures today.
It will take you minutes.
Good luck, buddy. Good luck. Wow.
They're right next to Sequest DSV.
And you know what's interesting about that too is it's not even a show. Like, it's a sketch. It was a thing that was in the zeitgeist for a little while. And it wasn't even a show like that you could, is in syndication that everybody knew. Like, you had to find the Coneheads by 93, to really know what that was about.
And then there was the thing, like, for me, sure, I remember them. And now what? Like, it wasn't that hilarious an idea. There was I think there was do you remember the animated Coneheads pilot that used to air as a special occasionally on NBC?
Yes, I remember that.
That was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I think that's the format because that's just that whole thing was ahead of its time, because it was the half an hour animated sitcom, and the Simpsons had to pave that way. But I can remember watching that Conehead special a couple times and thinking they should have done this, because it's funny.
The thing about that I think of the movie too, like Aykroyd's got this weird, he's into the paranormal and he's into scary stuff and kind of a morbid, sense of the grotesque. He likes the grotesque and finds it funny and everything. There's that
yes,
whole
I've seen
on the planet where it's on the planet and Dave Thomas, I think, is the leader or something. And there's a scene where Aykroyd's nude, or like you see his backside and it's like he's got 3 butt cheeks or something, or it's like it's like a weird, it's either nothing in front and 3 buttocks, or like teeth on his buttocks or something.
It's just something that he thinks is endearing, right, and the audience thinks is terrifying,
right?
Which he's really not good at. And it's funny that Dave Thomas is in that film, because honestly, Dave Thomas is the Dan Aykroyd of SCTV. They both are geniuses that sometimes fail to communicate to the audience why it's good.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's just, I find that really funny, that the dichotomy that Dave Thomas is in the Coneheads movie, because
didn't they also
they're
have
both the same.
Didn't they also have like sharp teeth?
Yeah, they have these like monster teeth in the movie.
Yeah.
He gets them filed down by a dentist, and it's just not, I think, and we could probably do a Coneheads episode. To be perfectly honest with you, I think the two of us could sit and talk for an hour about this film, because it is really kind of interesting on how it fails. That whole concept of them, you're creeped out by them.
Yeah,
the entire film, they're kind of frightening, and it's like they're the heroes of the movie.
It's dark humor, that dark humor in the grotesque, and it's like, it's not funny. It's like, like Ghostbusters is the right balance of trying to do something scary or weird and funny.
Yeah.
But, Coneheads was just like a misfire in every department.
And yet it's so staggering to watch it, because you just sit there and go like, how did this ship not, like, how did this not work? Because you really have a star cast. You have all these up and comers in the film, and then you have all these kind of like, established stars. Like it's incredible, the pool of talent that movie has. And you're like, yeah, they didn't make it work.
Had a big tie-in soundtrack too.
Yeah, of course. It's 1993. I mean,
I
can't tell you the soundtracks to movies I've never seen that I own from that era,
But it just seems like the kind of thing that would have been like someone did the theme, or someone did the, a Coneheads grabbed a bunch of bands off of, some label.
Of course they did. Yeah.
Or like like a Coneheads rap or something. Oh, that's a good one. Wait a minute. Speaking of Dragnet.
Holy cow. How are we not talking about Dragnet?
Dragnet, which works in many ways and doesn't in others. But I'll never forget the end.
You're being really generous. That was very generous.
The Dragnet rap, or whatever it's called, where Joe Friday, I think it's written by Aykroyd's brother.
Isn't it done by the dudes that did like the bow bow, bow bow, bow chicka chicka, those guys.
Yellow.
Thank you.
Oh,
crap! I appreciate that life preserver.
That one song and the Beverly Hillbillies movie. My expert category. I don't know if that's what it was. I seem to recall a rap, and it was maybe I'm getting it mixed up, because I think Aykroyd's brother has stepped in several times.
David Aykroyd?
Yeah, well, he was a musician as well as whatever else.
Oh, okay.
I think he did a song for Nothing But Trouble, and I think he did a song. There was if you look at the very original trailer or presentation thing for Ghostbusters, there's a completely different. There's two different Ghostbusters songs. I think I'm going to get this wrong, and someone's going to correct me. Prior to the Ray Parker Jr. thing, there are one or two attempts, I believe, to do a theme, Ghostbusters theme. One is by some band like, I don't know, Wet Blanket or some 80s thing that never did anything. And then and the other one I think was done by Aykroyd's brother. So he kept going.
Now the Art of Noise did the official Dragnet theme.
Okay, which makes sense. That makes sense.
And they added soundbite. That I don't know why I got the Art of Noise mixed up with Yellow, but I feel better about that now. Like
Yellow is boom boom, and then Art of Noise had the one that was like boom boom boom. Art of Noise had the one that was like in the video of the little punk girl, like.
Yeah, I remember the hey. Yeah. And I think they did Peter Gunn.
They did a great one. They did Kiss with Tom Jones, which is one of the best covers of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Just doing that. And they did an album in 89, which I'm forgetting the name of, but it's a great record. But they do a cover of the theme tune to the Robinson Crusoe TV series.
Wow.
Which is a gorgeous theme. So everybody, when you're done with this episode, go find that cover. It's a really great cover. Very obscure for them to cover that, but it's beautiful on the record. But Dragnet, which is like Dragnet, I think came out the same year or the same summer maybe as The Untouchables, which is weird enough.
Yeah, I saw Dragnet in the theater.
Oh, I did too. For
sure. I was, and I left thinking this is a good film. Which I've never really followed up on. I probably watched it on video when it came out, but it was like, I still enjoyed it. I don't know. This was back when Tom Hanks was funny.
You got to say, Aykroyd is great in it.
He's perfect.
He's perfect as, his nephew or whatever. Like
he does the exact same character. Aykroyd was born to play the dry as toast, straight man.
Yeah.
And he does. I think it's the movie It Came from Hollywood. He's doing his Joe Friday bit, and he's perfect in it.
What year was that?
It Came from Hollywood. I believe it was 81 or 82, like one of those.
Okay, I gotta.
And yeah, he does a bit. For movies with juvenile delinquents in them, and he's the I need some black and whites. I need some black and whites over here, and
his rhythm in the movie is fantastic.
Oh yeah, no, he sells the movie. I think the thing in that movie that doesn't sell it is that it's not that funny a movie.
It's not. Dabney Coleman again. Dabney Coleman as not the villain quite, but the porn guy, the Hugh Hefner guy.
Right. Yeah. I haven't seen it in so long. You remember that other
Christopher Plummer is like the cardinal of the city or whatever you call them. Like Christopher Plummer is in that movie, which is
I always get it mixed up with another movie that Aykroyd did, very similar, except he's crazy. It was called Loose Cannons. It's him and Gene Hackman,
which again is just
cringe.
Seeing that trailer in the theater and going, how much cocaine do they have in Hollywood?
Yeah, I can remember that was like I just finished high school. It's like, let's go to the movies, and it was like, what are we watching?
And he just lapses into voices and stuff, and
and it's about Hitler porn or something like that. Like, and so I always get Dragnet blurred with that, and that's not fair to Dragnet.
Dragnet compared to that is
Dragnet looks like Hamlet.
Life of Brian. Yeah,
Life of Brian. Yeah. But it's an inoffensive. Like, I like the film. It's just not very good.
No, it's not. The best thing to recommend it is Aykroyd's performance.
Mm-hmm.
Hanks is, I said this 100 years ago, but I still believe it's true. For all the good that Hanks has done, for how wonderful he is as an actor, and he's the modern day Jimmy Stewart and all that stuff. This man had a lot of chances. I mean, he had a show that failed, and he did the TV movie The Mazes and Monsters. I think that hit before Splash.
Scared the crap out of me.
Splash was huge.
Yep.
Splash was huge. But then...
And then Volunteers came.
He does Volunteers, which was like an HBO movie, which nobody saw. Then he did The Man with One Red Shoe, which was a remake.
I freaking loved that movie.
Which is a good movie. It is a good movie, but nobody saw it.
Yeah, I was there.
And
theater boy.
I think there was another one. Well, Bachelor Party did well. That movie did well, but he had like 3 or 4.
I've seen Bachelor Party about 100 times.
He did 3 or 4 that didn't work, and then Big came along, and I think Big was turned down by Sylvester Stallone, or turned down by Eddie. It was somebody you wouldn't even think of was going to be the lead in that thing.
Yeah.
They exited. He did it massive. And he's incredible in it. I still think it's probably the best thing he's ever done, like the best performance he ever gave, because I believe that was a kid, how he was playing it. But then he made Joe versus the Volcano after that, and then
which is actually kind of good.
And Bonfire of the Vanities. Yeah, but they failed. I mean, they just kept failing, and then he got like a third chance, and something else kind of hit, and then
I think Philadelphia was a big one for him.
Philadelphia was big. That was like 93 or so, and then from there, kind of. He's going to be fine. But he had several chances, that almost didn't work. But Dragnet's in there. I always Tom Hanks has a likability, and you've glossed over the Turner and Hooch franchise, my friend. I forgot Turner. It's another one. Turner and Hooch.
Which we'll be discussing on the TV shows into movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you ever think you'd find the day that Turner and Hooch, someone would go, it's a great property. What we need to make into a show is that frickin' Turner and Hooch, because we can make it better, and the stories are endless.
And we can make it sexier.
Turner and Hooch was another failure. Yeah. He just kept picking the wrong things.
That was back when Hollywood was like, what are you all doing? Like, we're going to make Alien, but underwater. And it was like every movie that came out that year. And then there was the Turner and Hooch thing. Also, what was the one I saw? Canine.
Jim Belushi.
It was like, the Jim Belushi. Actually, that was like one of my most epic first dates in high school. Was
I don't even know how you
revolves around Jim Belushi somehow.
I don't know how you could even find a theater that was running K9. I didn't know.
Well, it was in downtown Oshawa, Ontario, sir.
I didn't know until I saw the video cassette cardboard when I went into a video store. Like I don't think at the theater where I was. I don't remember.
Trust me, I wanted to be a Pet Cemetery across the street, but I wasn't. Yeah.
But you kind of, I gotta say, I got nothing against Tom Hanks. I mean, I will go, dude, keep an accent going. If you can't do the accent, don't just stop. What are you doing? And other things that I feel like he's sort of let things down on. But I kind of miss that Tom Hanks. The Tom Hanks that's in Dragnet.
I miss Crazy Bachelor Party Tom Hanks as well.
Yes.
He was funny as hell. And I absolutely, and I know I'm a minority in this, but I despise Forrest Gump. I think it was because I didn't see it until like the fall, and everyone had just like, oh my God, your head will explode. And, I went to see it, and I was like, and my wife's the same way. She's like, this sucks.
You're not in the minority on this phone call, because I saw it in the theater, and I loved
me too.
And I loved Tom. I'm like, and I came out of the theater going, that was good.
Yeah, it's not life changing.
The fact that it exploded, and I'm sorry, and I know this has been said to death. It's about a guy who does nothing. He doesn't do anything throughout the entire film. Shit just happens, and he just sort of goes, "I'm gonna go this way, and you go that way, and maybe you never know." But he's an observer. He's not a participant in anything. And what justice is there that once again, one of those movies you can point to with the Oscars where you go, that was movie of the year and Pulp Fiction wasn't.
Yeah. Well, we can agree on that. Now, I think we should switch gears and move on to
back just for one second.
our Tom Hanks episode.
I just read something recently where they were planning a sequel, and it was, I kid you not, it was going to be called Forrest Gump Still Gumpin', or something to that effect. Eric Roth, I want to say, is the guy who wrote the original book. Who, by the way,
I believe he wrote a second book to take the piss out of it all.
Okay, so maybe that's what it was going to be, but it was moving forward. And also, whoever wrote the original book, all the 18 people that won awards the night that thing won, not one of them mentioned the guy who wrote the book.
Yeah.
Not one of them said, oh, by the way. So this thing was going to happen, and they had a meeting scheduled for December 11th or December 12th or something. I'm sorry, September 11th or 12th of 2001. And they all get on like a conference call, kind of think Hanks and Zemeckis and this guy, and they all just basically go, I don't think there's any reason to make this movie now. Like, the world is changing, and the movie was going to be him going through another part of history and like not doing anything and whatever.
Yeah, I seem to recall, and I could be wrong, and fact check me, folks, but I seem to recall that whatever was in the writer's contract for the negotiation of the novel had him with the ability to write the sequel. And he wrote this incredibly unfilmable book.
Okay.
And I believe it's to take the mickey out of the whole thing. Like, he, wasn't interested. And
okay.
That's my recollection. I could be wrong.
Right. I think it's Eric Roth, right? I think that's the guy. That's or there's something, Eric something. But anyway, I just read about it the other day where like they were all set to start moving on this thing with Hanks and Zemeckis and this guy, and then it just, something terrible happened, and which I think is probably not the thing that happened. Obviously, it's not a good thing, but we didn't get another Forrest Gump because it's like there's T-shirts and hats and restaurants. Yeah, but you brought up Forrest Gump. You derailed this thing. I was talking about the Dragnet Tom Hanks, just for the record.
You're right. I apologize. Still gumping.
Still gumping.
Now I've fallen down a rabbit hole. All right, let's talk about 1994's big, like way too expensive adaptation is the Flintstones.
Oh my God, another one.
Yeah.
And it was huge.
But you know what? I just want to, before you get into it, I felt like I had to, like it was like Coupon the movie. Like I was of a certain age that I just had to go see the Flintstones. Like it felt like an obligation.
You had to go see what the world was becoming.
Yeah, I had to go like, well, I grew up with the Flintstones. I have to go see the Flintstones movie. And it was, yeah, there it was.
It was literally an animated show that was based on a live action show, The Honeymooners. It was just riffing on The Honeymooners that they then took from animation back into live action. And that's really kind of, to me, the start of where everybody just starts to go, it's like The Player when they just start reading headlines in The Player. So why do we need writers? Like, look, here's a headline. It's just, there you go. There's a story. And everything becomes about IPs. And well, look, there's already a fan base. There's already people already familiar, like Josie and the Pussycats. The only anybody ever knew about Josie and the Pussycats was the song. If you sat anyone down and said, anybody, do you remember? Josie,
or my lifelong crush on Alexandria Cabot.
But they couldn't tell you anything about the show or the characters or if they solved mysteries or did drugs or anything. Nobody knew what that show was. And then they made a movie.
I did.
Which tanked. Well, yeah, you saw K9 in the friggin' theater, for God's sake.
You
were the guy. They were all sitting behind glass going, I think we better follow this guy because he actually came to this film. This is someone we need to keep an eye on.
And I want to tell you right now, I got another date out of that. That worked out for Brian.
Well, that's good because nothing gets the loins going like
chicken fingers and a night of the Belushi.
Yeah.
The second best Belushi.
Yes, exactly. The Flintstones, though, and the Flintstones got another massive toy line, like the merchandise blitz.
That stuff, like I remember, I was like a full-on toy collector at that time. I was like, no one's ever gonna want these.
They were disturbing looking toys.
I think Peter Bagg at the time was writing hate comics, and at that time, his protagonist Buddy Bradley, who is like an avatar for me, he was opening a toy shop, and him and his friend were talking about the McDonald's Flintstones toys, and he's like, in 20 years, some kid's gonna go, I swear to God, I had a Fred Flintstone toy with John Goodman's head on it, and I will sell it back to him. And it's like, it set me up for not only, like, for me, I was hoping to get into that arena, being a vintage toy dealer, and it was like, oh my God, like, it showed me the futility of that, like, I can't even begin to describe it, but it was just like, I have no passion for this stuff, yet that's why I would want to get into this, is because of my passion for it.
Well, it's in the sweet spot of so many things that they thought were going to work, and there's as many that didn't work. There's more that didn't work than did, like Super Mario Brothers. I know it wasn't it was a cartoon show, probably on
greatest,
but it was a game. But it had a toy line. It had an action figure line. There's so much of that in the 90s, like Last Action Hero, Flintstones, all these things that, depending on how the movie did, the merchandise was just everywhere, and it sat around.
I was in the theater for Super Mario Brothers too.
Now, see, even I didn't see. I'm a major Bob Hoskins fan. I was in The Long Good Friday and Mona Lisa. I followed everything he did. Even I didn't go to the theater to see Super Mario. In fact, I don't think I've seen the full film at this stage.
To be honest with you, even then, even at that tender young age, if it was deemed a train wreck, I went.
You're just a sick.
It's like, oh, this is horrible. I'm in.
Well, at least you can admit it. I appreciate you.
Oh yeah, no, it's full disclosure.
See how bad it was going to be.
Yeah, because like as much as I loved playing Super Mario 3, and it probably ruined my scholastic life. Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
But you know what I'm saying? Like there were so many bloated toy lines around that time.
Oh yeah, Last Action Hero stuff, that was crazy.
That was around that time where everybody started to see the value in toys and see the value in
and everything got an action figure line. Like was it last week I saw the steel action figures from the Shaquille O'Neal, that it came and went in a weekend in the 90s, and no one talks about it now.
But I honestly think that would be the kind of thing you would have seen and went, it's not that bad.
I did watch it. It's sweet. It had incredibly low budget, and that's what killed it. It's like trying to make Iron Man on a full moon budget. If you're going to commit to a franchise of superhero stuff, and the character flies in the comic, he can't not fly in the film.
Right.
So they crippled that, and then Shaquille O'Neal is not an actor.
There is that.
Yeah.
Weisenheimer, because you like Catwoman so friggin' much, I figured Steel would be another underdog.
You know what? It's not bad enough to hate. Like, you know what I mean? Like it you can see where it was trying to go. It had no money, and it'd be like kicking a defenseless puppy. You're like, yeah, I'm making fun of you, but you know why. And it's not as fun as Catwoman, where they spent I don't even know the budget of the film, $50 million,
$400 million. Now that is probably what the first Flintstones movie made. I bet it made like over $200 million. That thing was a runaway hit.
But it was one of those things that you knew that they didn't sequel, so they knew that we got away with this.
But they did, though, didn't they? They did a prequel sequel.
It was for video, wasn't it?
I thought it was theatrical, and it was.
But it was a total recast.
It was a recast where it was before the first movie, so it was what's the Baldwin who kind of went insane?
I think it's Adam Baldwin. I can't remember. Daniel
No, the one that was in Usual Suspects.
I forgot. I don't know all the
Baldwin.
Baldwins.
Stephen Baldwin, young Fred Flintstone. No, I'm sorry. He was a young Barney Rubble. Fred Flintstone was
Mark
played
Addy.
by Mark Addy from Full Monty and loads of other things. I don't remember who the two wives were at all. But
I do. I think one of them was Jean Charismac. Or sorry, Jane Krakowski was Betty.
Oh,
That's right.
Yep.
And Christian Johnson from Third Rock from the Sun was Wilma.
So that got a theatrical. That was a sequel.
Did that get a theatrical? I mean, I know that it had Kazoo in it.
And did it have Anne Margaret in it too?
And Mark Rock.
Show up in it? Because I think Liz Taylor shows up in the first one.
Yeah, and she's the mother-in-law, but Joan Collins, like, it's all gone down to a TV
budget.
Yeah, budget. And all I've ever seen of that film was a scene where I was at the video store near my house and it was playing on the TV and I was watching the Alan Cummings Gazoo character and I'm like, it's the second movie and you've gone to Gazoo. And is it pretty much ruined the series?
Is it Viva Rock Vegas? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think you're right.
There's no reason for me to know that either, frankly.
Well, now you have it forever.
I apologize. Okay, so Flintstones, but there seems to be something else that came out around that time. I know there was a Jetsons theatrical animated that came out.
Yeah, it was like the late 80s, early 90s.
And that was like Tiffany did the but how about what about the Wild Wild West?
Well, yeah, I was going to get there.
Okay.
Well, we can go there now.
Just insane.
I think there's an incredible backstory revolving around it. But, I mean, talk about taking a television show that I know it was a camp show. And I was never a big fan of Wild Wild West as a kid. But I get the appeal. It's crazy. It's insane.
It's like the precursor to steampunk. It's that there's technology that they're using. There's weirdness. It's a film, like everything into a weird concoction that I think can work. And I always liked it. I watched it. I remember watching the Return, or the TV movie where they reunited or whatever that was called.
That one was a little rough
in the 70s. Yeah, but you think on paper, you go, you know what? Here's going to be a fun franchise, and we'll get the guy who did Men in Black. This thing can't lose. And then there is the behind the scenes stuff that's just bonkers, just completely bonkers.
Yeah, like I think, are we just going to fully blame this on John Peters?
I'd like to blame anything on John Peters.
Okay, yeah, that's fine, and I think it'll all stick. But
that's a big part of it. I think another part of it was Kevin Kline, who is 24 karat on everything he does pretty much, and he was stealing the movie. I think like he was doing his thing, but he was kind of stealing the scenes.
He was well cast as that character.
That's the only good casting in it, basically.
Yeah. I don't dislike Will Smith in the lead role because Robert Conrad was pretty straight with the material.
Yeah.
But yeah, for some reason the movie, I'm not a Kenneth Branagh fan, and I find he's a horrible overactor. And then the movie's crazy.
How can you say that after having seen Mary Shelley's Frankenstein?
That's where I based that opinion on.
I couldn't get out of the theater fast enough for that movie, because he not only was I getting nauseous from the camera movement, he was shirtless throughout 2/3 of it, and he was just like I was in a stadium and he was on stage, and he thought he had to project to me up in the nosebleeds in every scene. And I don't hate him or anything. I've just never, although he was great in Othello, the Lawrence Fishburne Othello, he's fantastic in that. Somebody might have slapped him around and said, relax, come on, dude. But that was a bad choice for Loveless as well. And, no Victor Buono. How do you do
Yeah, well, that was the problem, I think, even with the remake movies, is Buono was dead.
Yeah.
And I forget, I think Paul Williams
Oh,
replaced
yeah. What?
Bono. And it's like, yeah, no, I love Paul Williams, but he's not, that's not right. Like, that doesn't work. You need to, I think Paul Williams was supposed to replace Dr. Lovelace. Was that it?
That sounds right.
Dr. Lovelace was a dwarf actor.
Yeah.
And I know that Branagh was playing Dr. Lovelace, and he just he had his legs amputated, so he wasn't short.
Right.
And then that whole spider nonsense.
Drive around a giant spider.
But it did give Kool Modi some money that summer.
And that got a massive toy line too.
Did it?
I'm almost positive it got either Kenner or somebody gave that a toy line.
You know what? I've completely forgotten if that got a toy line or not. You're probably right. But I just it just kind of, sometimes I go to toy shows now and I'll be walking by a booth and I'll go, oh my God, that's right, they did toys for this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you've forgotten more than you've seen.
Mm-hmm.
In this life, and I'm sure you're the same way.
Yeah, like that. Some of the stuff I'll get stuck on and go, did it or didn't it? Every now and then. But some of it you just because you and I were probably so just sort of aware of what was being made or what was happening, in the toy world, that if you went to a toy store or a Toys R Us or whatever, and you came down, you go, oh, they did toys for this, or in the action figure magazines we'd get and stuff, you'd see the Last Action Hero prototypes or the whatever was coming out. So I just remember this stuff, and most of it just failing.
Yeah, it was all kind of just hanging around KBs for the longest time.
But did Wild kind of put a capper on that for a while, doing those kinds of?
I think Van Helsing was not helpful in that. There was a law of diminishing returns, and you had Battlefield Earth got a toy line. Well, so speaking of big disappointing adaptations of 60s, camp and surreal shows, let's talk about the Avengers from late 1998.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of that film?
Well, I know so much about it at this point, of all the ways that it went wrong. I knew before it came out that it was going to be a hard sell, because it is just not a show that a lot of people know. They had a great campaign for it. I remember being because I was living in Toluca Lake at the time, and Warner Brothers was right there, and they would put up these massive posters on the sides of the studio of what was coming out, and they had these 3 character posters of Steed and Peel and Sean Connery's character,
Sir August de Winter.
I
had postcards of those in my bathroom.
See, there you go. The tagline was "Saving the World in Style."
Mm-hmm.
A great tagline, but very much like John Carter or other things that have been in development forever, and then when they kind of launch, they don't educate, they don't tie it in with a re-release of books or DVDs or whatever it was going to be at the time, and nobody really knew this thing. But I saw it the day it came out, and I thought it was fine. I did not leave the theater going, oh my God, what a stain on the legacy of the Avengers, blah blah blah. But I knew we're never going to get more of these. It's never going to be a franchise, and this is it. And it didn't work. And the main reason it didn't work for me, besides the fact that you watch it and you go, this has clearly been torn to shreds. It's so disjointed. They're because legend has it, and they did a 20th anniversary kind of interview with Jeremiah Chechik, or whatever his name is, in Empire a while back. That there's a director's cut. There's an original cut that's very different, that had a lot weirder things in it, and it felt more like the Avengers, etc. That maybe we'll get someday, I don't know. But he left movies altogether, that guy. He never directed another film, I don't think, because it was such a nightmare experience. But
Those are always the most interesting directors.
it is because the thing I'll say for it is the main thing it got wrong was Ralph Fiennes. Not that he's a bad actor or anything, but that completely and utterly missed the point of John Steed. Like, could not have been more. If you watch any of the episodes, even the early like Honor Blackman ones, he is just, you can't take your eyes off him. He comes in a room and he's just, half the time he's smiling or a half smile, or he's sort of, when he's being sinister, he can turn that on. But he's full of life, and Fiennes played it very robotic and proper to the point of stiffness, which was not the point of the character. He had all the gentleman qualities and the appearance and sort of how he did things, but he was he was full of life. He was the joie de vivre and all that stuff. But they tried to adhere to a degree to the edict of the show, which is, it looks like whenever they did location shots, they'd make sure the streets were deserted on the show, because it felt like you were in a world that kind of existed on its own, kind of.
Yeah, it had a weird, wonderful energy to it.
Yeah, and they kind of tried to do that, and they tried to kind of have some eccentric hangers on, or the teddy bear thing and that sort of thing, but it was just a misfire. I don't think, and I believe me, if anybody's going to criticize this thing, it's going to be me. I think it's one of those movies that gets unfairly maligned, in the sense of, like, there's so much worse stuff that like Wild Wild West is infinitely worse than the Avengers.
I totally agree. There's some stuff in the Avengers movie I really liked.
Yeah.
And I was sitting through it going, this has been ruined also by the popularity of Austin Powers.
Yes, and then there's that.
I sat through that going, like, yeah, people will be like, this is just Austin Powers, but it's not funny.
Which is
and
why
they're right.
Which is why you needed to turn up the charm and how cool it is. The cool factor should have been turned up even more, to say, he's spoofing spy films and In Like Flint and all these things, that period, but this is the real deal. But it just kind of was. I mean, McNee has a cameo. He's like invisible. It's an agent that got invisible. I mean, Jim Broadbent is in it. What's her name? Fiona Shaw is in it.
Eddie Izzard is great at it.
Eddie Izzard. I think he's got one line.
He doesn't speak in the entire thing, as I recall.
Freaking Sean Ryder from Happy Mondays. I'm like, Sean Ryder's in this? Like,
and Patrick McNee's cameo is amazing.
It's pretty cool. Like, yeah, that is pretty fun, and it's very much in the spirit of the show. It's just, it's the show is a time capsule of a style and a time.
Yeah.
And so the question then is, you make this film, you have to update it to a degree, but keep the cool. And it was right in that cool Britannia period where Britpop was big and all these, like, there's a dozen reasons it should have worked, that somebody should have. I remember reading an interview with what's his name, Brian Clemens, who wrote a lot of the episodes of the Avengers and was instrumental in the development and everything, and saying, I never made a phone call. Like, nobody ever called me. Nobody talked about it. Like, and he was one of the most vocal, denouncers of the film and everything. But I knew it was going to bomb. I knew it wasn't going to work. And I didn't watch it for years.
Yeah.
And then I picked up a DVD, I don't know how many years ago, and popped it in again. And I went, this is not that bad. It's not it's not a terrible film. It's just, it's, it just didn't work. And, the notion of, I mean, you had Sean Connery playing a villain for the first time, like, since the 50s, the late 50s. Right. I mean, that's huge, and tying him into another, spy property is brilliant. And it just, I mean, actually not a bad updating of the theme too. I think Marius DeVries did the update of the theme.
You know what drove me crazy about that film is I liked it when it came out, and you start to feel like, oh no, this is being unfairly maligned, and it is not the worst thing I'll see this summer. But I was at a video store, and the same video store I think I was watching the clips from the other movie on, and this woman and her boyfriend were picking movies, and he picked up the Avengers, and she went, "Oh, that's that stupid movie with the teddy bears." And I realized, like, that's why it failed, because people like that can't have, it's too niche to be a big
Well, that's the kind of thing
blockbuster.
that's the kind of thing that you would have seen in an episode of the Avengers, something
Yeah.
insane.
Oh, yeah, and that I actually loved that scene, but then it's like, yeah, but if you have
If you
never
don't know
watched a single Avengers,
exactly.
what do you have other than, like, I don't like this movie because it doesn't fit to the spy movie standards I have.
I mean,
And
it's got a Grace Jones song in it on the soundtrack, like about, that's fantastic. Like it's got all these ingredients that should have made it work, and some interesting tunes and
yeah,
score thing.
and not to mention it's Doctor Who's little brother.
Well, yeah, it's
Sidney Newman created it.
Yeah, it's like, it's one of the, I say to this day that I'm surprised no one has done an updating of this. Like you can't call it the Avengers anymore, obviously.
Which kind of sucks.
You can call it Steed and Peel. And
Peel.
And there are so many streaming services now that, I mean, did you ever think we'd be living in an age where Disney Plus is doing stuff now with Doctor Who
that's so bizarre. Yeah, I don't know.
Per episode or per budget is as much as a full season, of the British show, basically. It's just mental, So you go, this is a beloved thing, somebody could take this and really have fun with it and do something wacky and great. One of those movies that I think they talked about for years and years.
Yeah.
To make a theatrical thing, and then it finally, I think it went through several directors. But this article was great. If anybody can find the Empire link to the Empire article, the interview with him, the stuff he's talking about in the interview, the stuff that they shot or originally had written and wanted to shoot or shot, and it got cut out, and the studio came in and did their thing, and he had no say in the editing. You go, God, I'd love to see all the deleted stuff. I'd love to see what this could have gone, with her doppelganger, and then it just kind of gets fuzzy, and you go, I don't think I know what's going on anymore. Like what?
Yeah, it isn't the sharpest narrative, but like you've said, it feels like meddling.
Yeah. It feels like you just go, there's another longer film somewhere that we may never see, that I'd love to see.
I would like to jump to another beloved spy TV show of the 60s that got turned into not one, but two feature films. And I'm talking about Get Smart. You not only have a big budget remake, which we'll get into, but we have a recap in 1980 with the movie The Nude Bomb, which I believe got released on TV as The Return of Maxwell Smart.
When I think of The Nude Bomb, I think of two things.
I bet you they're the same things I think of.
Okay, I take it back. I think of three things. Two of them are Pamela Hensley, and the other one is standing in line for The Empire Strikes Back. The Saturday morning, I think it came out on a Thursday or Friday. I had school still, and I got there Saturday morning. My dad dropped me and my buddy from up the street off at like 8 a.m., whatever it was. Little McDonald's hash brown in my hand kind of thing. And we stood in line for the 11 a.m. and, within
the sustenance you'll need in that line,
right.
Boy.
And I think to myself now, was I wearing a watch? Like, how did I know? Like, I think about those things now and go, my dad dropped off a 9-year-old kid and his friend, who was a couple years older, in front of the theater and drove off somewhere for 3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Come back and get us at the mall. And I'm like, was I wearing a watch? Did I have like a tracking device on my neck? Like, how did I know where to go, to what exit we'd be at?
Oh, you, me, same. I don't know how my mother found me. It's like,
even
so weird.
Line, did I have to pee? We were in line for like 3.5 hours waiting for the first showing, and we were, and the line went around the building. Did I ever have to pee? did I go to the bathroom that morning before I left? That, like, all these things that you just, now it's just like we're so connected to our phones that you just go, I'll find somewhere to pee. I can take my phone and you hold the space in line and I'll go, as a kid. But I remember the poster being the Empire poster was there, and that was one of the first times I'd seen it. And Han is like romantically looking at Leia, and I said to my friend, like, hey, do you think maybe? He's like, no, I don't think that's ever going to happen. I was like, okay, well, I think.
And he was right.
And he was right. And then next to that was the poster for the nude bomb, and I had like a surface knowledge of Get Smart. I'd certainly seen it a bunch of times, but I remember, of course, as any kid, you're like, are they really going to get nude? Like, is there going to be nudity in this? Like, I don't think, can they get away with that in a PG movie? I don't know if they can do that. So that always makes me think of The Empire Strikes Back. And maybe.
By the way, if you try to Google the nude bomb, you will get naked ladies.
I would.
I wanted to see the poster, and I saw more than I hoped for.
You have to do nude bomb movie.
Yeah.
And even then,
lesson learned.
Even then, you're taking a chance.
Actually, no, that doesn't help. Although there is some pictures of Pamela Adams.
I saw it once.
I still do not know what the poster for this movie looks like.
Try nude bomb movie 1980.
How about I put nude bomb movie Don Adams?
Not porno.
I do not want to see Don Adams nude.
Well, there's a porn star called Don Adams that you're not aware of.
Yeah, actually, no. Boy, this is one of the worst posters I've ever seen.
It's terrible.
It's bad.
I saw the movie. I don't think I saw it in the theater, but I saw.
Oh no, it played on TV umpteen times. Like NBC aired it a whole. Yeah, it's horrible.
Terrible.
And by the way, there's absolutely no one left from the series other than Don Adams. There's not even Barbara Feldon. And in fact, this movie I don't think counts in the pantheon of Get Smart canon, because
I was going to say it's not canon. This movie's
it's not canon because they did another Get Smart movie. I think when I was almost in college, like 88. I think they did, called Get Smart Again or something like that, and they brought back. No, it was a TV movie.
Oh. With Don Adams.
And it was around the time that they were doing all those reunion TV movies.
Right.
And that included like Return to Mayberry, and that one was really good. And then apparently what ended those was the Dobie Gillis TV movie that was so horrible. And I'm sure you were like me, where you went, what the frick is Dobie Gillis?
That's twice in two podcasts back to back that Dobie Gillis has come up. I'd just like to point that out.
There's no pattern to that.
There's no other podcast out
just
there
being paranoid
like that.
I'm not bringing the apocalypse.
It also got another series. The Get Smart was like a syndicated show.
No, it didn't. It was a Fox show.
Was it a Fox show?
It was a Fox show with Andy Dick, and Andy Dick famously he took it, but then News Radio came up and they offered him the job of being Matthew on News Radio, and he was technically signed for if that Get Smart thing got a second season. Mm-hmm. And he was like, sue me. And of course that Get Smart thing just super bombed. Like I think they dropped that in like the winter of '94. And it was horrible. And
I didn't know that was a Fox thing.
Yeah, it was a Fox show, and
I thought it was like in one of those, because there was a lot of syndicated stuff.
It totally smells like a syndicated reboot type show.
Did you know there was a Weird Science?
Yes.
Show?
Oh, yes. No, I love that show. And we're going to talk about that on TV shows based on movies.
88 episodes.
Yeah, Vanessa Angel's on that show. Yeah, no, I love that show.
News to me.
Yeah, well, and so, you know what? Who else it was news to? Johnny Hughes.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah, I guess he was just like flicking channels.
Oh, no way.
Oh, I see.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, but we'll get into that into a future episode. But The nude bomb is, for me, the only memorable part of it is the fact that they have a shootout at Universal Studios. Wonder if that was a cost-saving measure.
Yeah.
Where they have a shootout in the Battlestar Galactica. I think it's in the Jaws ride, but the Battlestar Galactica thing, and
the Jaws ride, which seems like it's 15 minutes of the movie. Like, it's the way it's shot is just like it takes forever to get to the gag, basically.
That whole nude bomb movie was definitely like a cash grab.
Like,
and at that time, I watched Get Smart every day.
There's people out there that are obsessed with Universal Studios.
Me too.
And the Galactica ride, which I did. I think I have some blurry photos I tried taking as I was going into the ride. You've got.
I have a pile of slides from that ride on my desk right now.
And you've got the picture of me standing out in front of the store with the Cylon.
Oh, most definitely. It'll be on the back of a Toy Ventures soon.
And there are people that study that scene because there's not a lot of images out there from the Galactica thing, and people kind of study that scene to get.
There's a really great commercial for the that Universal ride, and it's got Lenny Weinrib doing the voice of the Imperious Leader, and the Imperious Leader costume is amazing. The mouth moves, and you're like, why wasn't this on the show?
Oh wow.
Yeah, somebody posted it in the Pod Stallions group, and I was like, that makes no sense. Like, I didn't understand why I had a mysterious Imperious Leader figure because he was never on the show.
Does he say, hanking for a hunk of cheese? Hanking for a hunk of cheese. Wasn't he wasn't Lenny Weinrib that guy too? The little guy, like the guy looked like a
timer.
Yeah. Timer the testicle that just walked around, weirdest looking little creature for Saturday mornings. Tell you how to make ice cube lollies.
Who taught you to make a Saturday? Instead of a Sunday, it was a Saturday. And
yeah.
I forget what.
I don't know the ingredients, but I think one of them is weed.
I thought there was some pineapple in there, which is like a no dice for Brian.
God. So that, but did you ever see the Steve Carell one?
Yes, and I like it.
I thought it was fine. I thought it was fun, actually. He had that time where it was hard to find like the right vehicle, sort of. And Get Smart seemed to be a thing that they announced, and I saw a photo from the set, and then the movie came out 7 years later or something. Like, it just seemed to be this thing that just took, like, he committed to it years before it ever came out. And
it was perfect casting for him. It's actually a pretty funny movie. My biggest problem with the film's casting is Terrence Stamp as Siegfried. I love Terrence Stamp, but he's not Bernie Capel. Like, there's no comedy to him.
No.
And I think it would have been more fun to have a different character actor to play off of Steve Carell.
Yeah, I forgot Stamp in that. Although Stamp is very funny in Bowfinger.
It just doesn't work. It
doesn't work in this though.
It doesn't work in this film.
Hathaway is a great casting.
She's perfect as Barbara Eden. Yeah, no, that works really, really well.
Yeah.
But and I don't dislike the film. I think it's actually really well done.
Yeah.
Alan Arkin is great as the chief.
Yeah, I forgot he was in that.
And it was fun to have The Rock in a movie where he's not the good guy. Spoilers.
Oh shit! You just ruined that for.
I'm sorry. But yeah, it's a good film, and I don't think we're going to ever get through this list in one episode, but I would like to talk about one more spy series.
Sure.
For this episode, and then we'll call it quits because we've been talking for a while.
Have we? Well, we talked for a while before we recorded, to be fair.
That's fair, but I started recording when we started doing the show. So
okay, well, make sure you cut all that out.
Yeah.
Cut all the insurrection.
I'll get all your racism.
Please do.
I don't know what the Dutch people did to you, but anyway.
The usual.
The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Oh yeah, God, I thought for a second I'm going The Return, the TV thing, but
No.
no, the movie. You and I are both fans of.
I cannot believe how ignored that got.
Well, now it's got a huge albatross around its neck, unfortunately, because of. But
You mean I don't know what you're talking about? I live in a cave.
Cannibal, eat people. But
Yeah, no, there might be a recast for the sequel.
yeah, maybe. But Cavill is wonderful in it. Like I think it's probably the best thing he's done because he's so assured in it, but he also is kind of doing a Robert Vaughn
No,
thing.
he's nailing Robert Vaughn.
And
He's
it's like,
doing it in his voice, but Robert Vaughn's cadence.
yes.
And the best part about his solo is the best thing about Robert Vaughn was Robert Vaughn never looked like he was bothered by anything.
Right.
There's this quiet arrogance about Robert Vaughn, and that was Napoleon Solo, where he doesn't sweat, he doesn't get upset, and yeah, Cavill nailed that. And to be perfectly honest with you, I loved the changes to Kuryakin, making him a little bit of a thorn in Napoleon's side.
Yeah, I liked when it was over, I'm like, I really hope we get more of these, but I don't think we're gonna, because it didn't. The thing that it did very well, I think, and we just hit this on the Avengers thing and other sort of period type things, is it made it period ish,
but it didn't compromise.
But it didn't compromise, and it also wasn't full of CGI and explosions and roller coasters, going like it was just like a good old fashioned practical effects spy picture, and it really works for me. It wasn't trying to be a James Bond movie. It wasn't.
No. It was completely its own animal. And one of my favorite scenes in the film is when one of the villains drug Napoleon Solo, and he just gets a pillow and he lies on the couch.
Yeah.
He's like, yes, I've done this before, and I'll be fine. I'll just lie here.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to me,
It's right up to the line of winking. It just
but that's what The Man from U.N.C.L.E., when it was its best, was doing. Yeah. And I loved every minute of it. And I loved Alicia Vikander as the girl from U.N.C.L.E. She was magical in that film.
Yeah. And Hugh Grant was great.
Hugh Grant and Mr. Waverly, he's perfect. And that brings me back to when I used to watch Man from U.N.C.L.E. like reruns on TV, my mom would always point at the original Mr. Waverly and say, "Oh, it's Topper."
Yeah.
From the Topper television series.
Yeah.
And the
Topper movie, which inspired a TV series, which will be in our part 2.
That's exactly where I was going with that.
Very nice.
But yeah, I love, and if you haven't, buy the Man from U.N.C.L.E. soundtrack.
Oh yeah, good sound.
It is excellent.
Is it? It's not David Arnold. Is it David Arnold does the music?
I don't know. Although I have actually heard, that music in other productions now. Because I don't 100% know how they could do that, but I've heard some of the music from Man from U.N.C.L.E., especially a track called "Take You Down," in television commercials.
Do you know what's funny? Because and I don't think I'm wrong about this. If I'm not mistaken, somebody brought it up to either Guy Ritchie or Cavill on a red carpet or something. Would you like to do? And they basically said, "I'm there whenever. Like if we can do it again, I'd do it again."
It's a phenomenal,
but they said,
movie.
But without that other guy who's
can we recast Ilya, because
and then CGI another guy into the original film? So
I did. That came out in I think 2015, and my daughter she saw a commercial for it and she said, "I'd really like to see that movie." And I'm like, "Really?" Because I love The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and we went out and saw it, and we both really enjoyed it, to the point where I've probably, between it and The Nice Guys, I've probably seen them the same, like about.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah,
I've definitely seen because I have the DVD, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. It's got some great extras on it,
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen it several times. The Nice Guys has become a movie that I just know it by heart, and it just makes me, if ever I'm down, no matter what's going on, if I can think of that or put it on,
I'm the same boat. But this is a movie that for a while there, it was running on when my wife and I had cable. We would catch it, starting or ending, and she could go to bed, but I couldn't. Like, she doesn't understand the allure of the film at all.
I gotta give credit that they stuck to their guns as to what the thing was going to be. They knew full well what they were making. That when you think about what's the other one, the franchise that Guy Ritchie, because unless I'm getting the wrong director, but the one with Taron Egerton and Colin Firth. The one, Kingsman. Isn't that Guy Ritchie?
I don't think Guy Ritchie has anything to do with the Kingsman. No.
Who the hell's doing Kingsman then? Doesn't he direct that? And it's like based on a Mark. Same guy did Kick-Ass, one of his comics.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's based on
so it's not Guy Ritchie? Oh.
No, in fact.
Now it's bugging me.
Yeah, I've seen the Kingsman movies, and they're fun pop culture, but I didn't think Guy Ritchie was involved with them.
Who am I thinking of then? But what I was, saying that those are slam bang. Those are larger than life and.
Oh yeah, they're like they're almost like Roger Moore Bonds.
Yeah, like insane.
Matthew Vaughn is the director of
Matthew Vaughn. Okay, right, because Matthew Vaughn was was Ritchie's producer for years. Right. That's what Vaughn executive produced Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch, and so then he went off to start directing. But that's interesting because they're in the same kind of boat of the way they tell. I think Matthew Vaughn did Layer Cake. I think that was his first movie.
That's a good movie.
Daniel Craig before Bond, but the two, they're completely different animals. And Man from U.N.C.L.E., he just kind of stuck to the guns. I mean, even the Sherlock Holmes things are far more slam bang adventure from Guy Ritchie than Man from U.N.C.L.E. They clearly had an idea to go, let's get close to the show and make a very specific thing here. And I think it worked and it was great, but I doubt we're ever going to get more of them, sadly.
Yeah, no, I loved Cavill's performance in that movie.
Yeah.
Actually, I liked everybody's performance, even, but
I don't remember the name of the other guy. I have no recollection. And Senator, and if you ask me any further, you have to talk to my lawyer about it.
When the Lone Ranger reboot came out, my friend Corey said something like, "Yeah, the Lone Ranger starring Johnny Depp and some guy," and that's what I'm just going to call him, some guy.
I will just say this. As a not too tall, not ugly guy, but I'm a slow burn. If you're someone like that and you're that good looking and that tall and everything is sort of handed to you and you still mess it up, that I just go, well, okay, then just move aside, because what more do you want? Like, you walk in a room and everyone's looking at you and you're not terrific in what you do, but you're working nonstop. But he was good as the Kuryakyn thing. I liked where they went with that, with the two, the being kind of at each other, for that was great.
Yeah,
I want to watch it again.
Yeah, no, I would highly recommend it. It's one of my favorites, absolute favorites. And I think that's where we'll end off, but I think this definitely has more juice in it. So we'll probably do a part 2 in the coming weeks and have a little fun with that, because honestly, I mean, just some of the films that we have passed up on in this are worthy of more conversation.
Yeah.
And I won't bring them up now because we'll just do the whole thing right now, and I don't want to do that.
Part 2 will be only Bewitched.
A scene by scene breakdown of a movie I've never seen and probably don't have any access to right now.
And then part 3 will just go back to this. It'll be a 3-part. Well, there you go. There's some. I knew this wouldn't.
No, that was an easy sell.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. So let us know what you think in the comments about us, how wonderful we are, but also about the show, the subjects.
What's the best thing you like about me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if we were making a movie about the podcast, who would play us? And don't mention the other guy that was in Man from U.N.C.L.E. if you're going to be casting it, because something tells me they're unavailable. It's going to be hard to get that one pulled off. Yeah, please like, subscribe, make nice comments, watch Plastic Soul, please, and subscribe, and pay attention to everything Brian does on the videos he makes.
Just pay attention to me in general.
I'm
doing stuff.
This fantastic magazine and Polyester Pals. Woohoo!
Yeah, you know what? We probably should have opened with that, but yeah, we have dolls.
Woohoo!
Inanimate in-action figures. I've got 3 of them in front of me right now, and they're so fun, and they've made my life better.
There you go.
You've got a pile coming to you, sir.
That's on the poster right there. I've got 3 of them in front of me, and they made my life better.
That's right. Yeah, my hairline has grown an inch.
Are we sold out yet?
Yes.
We're pre-sold out. Fantastic.
We're super. We actually have. I've for a soft launch. Like I put it up on the site with no photos a few days ago because I knew they were coming in, but I needed to photograph them and do that kind of thing. And I woke up that morning and we had sold like 3 sets. And it's like, wow, there's not even a photo.
Didn't we order 30,000 of them though?
I ordered 300,000 of them. I'm really overestimating our popularity.
Folks, order some for friends. They make great stuffers, even if you don't celebrate Christmas.
And they are delicious.
You can melt them down, and you've got a great winter soup.
Soup not guaranteed.
Thanks, everybody. I hope
all
you
right.
stuck around for all of this because it's gold.
Yeah, it's comedy gold. All right. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. All right. Stop recording.